We have a theist, Mike, no pronouns given, is from South Carolina and wants to talk about how atheists purposely do not want to understand the Bible. Well, hey, Mike, we are going to bring you on the Atheist Experience with Jim Barrows and Secularity. What you got for us?
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Doing good.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
sure can.
Good. I wasn't supposed to say can you hear me, but hey, I'm following up with Jim. Jim, we spoke a few weeks ago. I think it was the last time you were on. I'm not sure, but it was about it was really simple what we were talking about, and it turned into a half hour. Forrest was on, so there's going to be commentary, but nothing was resolved. And then we were trying to figure out what one word in the Bible was. It's love is patient, love is kind. We got to proud, and then Jim and Forrest were both like, we have no way of knowing what they mean by proud. It could be good pride, like you're proud of your kids or something. It could be bad pride, like you're boastful.
Yep.
There's no way to know. And I was like, well, yeah, sure there is. And you're like, nope, there's no way to know. And then that little bit got taken as Forrest is on the little thumbnail. It says clear as mud, the Bible. And I was like,
yeah,
well, you can.
Yeah, it's just a general statement that from that statement you can't get any definite meaning. So yeah. I vaguely remember that conversation.
I don't, and I'm not positive, Mike, because I wasn't there, and I don't remember the call. But I would just say I don't think what Jim and Forrest were saying is that in all cases there's no way to know, but from this specific statement, it doesn't seem like there's much more information there. I would say there are definitely ways that we can get more information about what whoever the authors of various books of the Bible are, but I don't know that we'll ever get perfect information, right? I mean, that's not unreasonable.
Well, I don't mean by perfect information. I mean an understanding of what actually was being said. And yes, sometimes it's like, man, I don't know, like Revelations, I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
Sure.
But this one was like really clear, like, love is patient. It was saying things that love isn't. It was listing, things like love is patient. That's good. Like it's kind. And it was things love isn't. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. And it said it is not proud. And they're like, I mean, just from it made me think what Jim and Forrest said. I was like, well, how do you know? I mean, you got to go back to context. You should look at different versions. King James. Mm-hmm. Jim didn't like King James. But you look at different versions of the Bible, and then you should look at the actual, go back to in this case, the Greek.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
What?
Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I still don't. To me, the King James Bible is the worst translated Bible of all of them. And again, you can look at just simple little things like wherever it says servant, you actually need to translate that as slave. They do some other things. Their point wasn't to be accurate. Their point was to make it more readable. And of course, it was written so long ago that we have a better understanding of the Greek of the time. It's horrible, and everybody swears by it, but really they should be swearing at it. So yeah. But anyway, in the love is patient, love is kind. That is so general as to absolutely be useless. What do you mean by love is patient? And are there times where the most loving thing you can do is to not be patient?
Sorry, say that again, Mike.
I prefer to stick just to this one word, proud, instead of branching off in other words, because we can't get this one word right. There's no help for any of us. But I mean, the proud, the Greek is to puff up, inflate, to be proud. And then Forrest said, well, what if my hand's puffed up? And I was like, oh, come on, guys. It's just like, you're trying not to understand. So you can say it's not clear as mud or is clear as mud. So you don't have to do anything. Now you don't have to respond to it because it's like, it's all a mess. And
if I can, Mike, because I think there's a deeper conversation that's trying to be had here, and I think that deeper conversation is actually more important than the specific definition of the Greek word for proud, right? And I think that's more important that we have that conversation, right? Because I think what you're getting at here is that there are times when, hey, it feels like y'all are bending over backwards not to give a point to the religious side, you know? And look, hang on. Just going to take a big step back and say, yeah, fair. Yeah, probably there's some times that things like that happen, right? But overall, I would argue that if you look at the two sides, those that claim religious belief, those that follow the teachings of the Bible, whatever that means, and believe in its truth, those people largely seem to be the ones that don't really want to understand, is what I find. And if you disagree with that, let's talk about that. Let's try to hash that out, because I don't think the definition of this one word pride is going to do us much in the conversation.
Well, so the conversation, SR, was that it's so vague as to be meaningless.
Sure.
And I believe Mike was attempting to say, yes, it does have a meaning, and then kept agreeing with it could mean either a good type of pride or a bad type of pride. And I would say that even with the Greek definition of puffed up, that doesn't solve the problem of that entire phrase being so vague as to be useless. Because I think it's okay if you do something that for you is really, really rare, that doesn't happen very often, whatever it might be. You should feel puffed up about that. You should feel really good about that. You should take some pride in that. So it doesn't help at all, the definition, because you don't have anything else to go off of from that, from even the same author on something so vague as to be useless. So I don't think you've done yourself any favors by saying it means puffed up.
And I don't know where to go with this, because it says
you go wherever the fuck you want, Mike. Take us on a journey, man.
And you're trying to slip in the good. I give up on Jim. The one I give up. If you go to the Greek and it says that, and you're like, well, but what if it's a good pride? Like, that's not what it's saying. It's puffed up means bad, and then Forrest said, well, what if your hand is puffed up? Does it mean that?
No, so how do you get to puffed up is bad?
The earlier point of
how do you get to pride as meaning puffed up is bad? How do you get there?
Puffed up usually means you're full of yourself, and then I don't know anybody that takes that and like, hey, that guy is so puffed up, it's so rocking. Nobody does. It means you're arrogant. They're equivalent. And it's a physical.
No, I just gave you. I agree with you that it can mean that, but it could also mean that I am all puffed up about something that took me, 6 months of working on, and I finally finished it. I also feel puffed up about that. I would also use that phrase "puffed up" for something that I have done that was really good, at least for me.
I don't recall anybody in my lifetime ever saying they were puffed up, meaning a good thing. They meant they did an accomplishment, and that's a different kind of pride. And I thought it looks to me like it's crystal clear. I don't know what to say here. I mean, stick with it, I guess.
Yeah,
we can't. So,
and I'm not saying you're wrong in your assumptions. You can certainly interpret it that way. But my point is that it's so vague as to be useless because it can go either way. Pardon?
That's not a good. I don't see any way to back that up with you bringing in the definition of a good pride, but good pride is never puffed up. Anybody else want to comment on this?
I would love to, Mike. And what I would love is if y'all two would just basically go, cool, and then just move the fuck on from this worthless conversation, in my opinion, because I think the more interesting conversation is not about this particular word and how the fuck it's being used in this one fucking instance, right? I think there is a broader conversation that needs to be had. And I think that is actually the crux of what you're trying to get at, which is, hey, there is actually some times where people don't seem to be willing to give points to the other side when they're pretty fucking clear, right? So let's talk about that. Where do you think that occurs? Please don't bring this one instance up again. Let's talk about something else, for God's sake. So where do you think that occurs, where you're seeing non-religious people actively attempting to distort the information and the evidence about the Bible?
Well, there's another one that's much more important, and Forrest has a clip on it where he talks. It's Isaiah 45:7, and it's I form the light to create the darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things. But there's a couple versions where they say I bring prosperity and create. I bring good and create evil. And then he's like, boom, there it is. God created evil. That's why this is important. Is because you can take. I mean, if God creates evil, I don't want to follow him. That doesn't sound
do you
good.
feel like that is more of an issue? Because I know that specific point that you're talking about, Mike, and I'll just let you know, it gets under my skin too, because I know the interpretation. I understand why that passage is in Isaiah. I've listened to the ancient Near East scholars that have talked about that, and the way that it uses the word evil there, or chaos, or destruction, disaster, whatever the fucking, it doesn't matter, right? I get where you're coming from on that particular point, right? Here's what I want to ask though. Do you feel like that issue is really something that's a problem with the non-religious side, or something that's more of a problem with the religious side?
I guess the religious side is like, wait a minute, our God's not evil. But then the other people, a lot of people just don't care about the Bible or think about it. But then Forrest was using it. He's weaponizing it as, hey, man.
Yeah, but Forrest isn't fucking here, man. Forrest is a great guy. He's very smart. He's got a lot of shit. Everybody loves him. Don't talk about him. Jim's here. I'm here. Let's the three of us talk, Mike. We're all adults. We're all smart people. Come on. We got this, man. If you got a problem with Forrest, call Forrest. You know, he's always down. Never had a bad day. So, look, it seems to me that when we try to do this textual criticism, when we try to break down the history, we try to understand the author's intent, more often than not, it seems that the information that is pretty damn clear is stuff that doesn't hold up the religious side of the argument, more so than not holding up the non-religious side. And between the two camps, my experience, and please tell me if you're experiencing different, Mike, my experience has been the religious people are more unlikely to be interested in that material. Do you think I'm wrong there?
Wow. I guess I can't speak for other people. It got me going because when I first heard that, God's evil, I was like, oof, I better research this because this is a big deal. And then we got the proud thing with Jim, and and then I was like, well, if we can't agree on proud, then we can't agree on anything. And Jim saying there's servant and slave in the Bible, it's like, we can't agree on proud. How do you know it's servant? I mean, he loses credibility if you can't do that. I mean, there's just nothing to talk about in the Bible because the key phrases are like, nah, too vague. And it's like, really? You can't figure out which pride it is, the good pride, you just can't figure it out.
Yeah, so you're misrepresenting my point. My point is that phrase or that whole piece of poetry is so vague as to be useless. I'm not saying the entire Bible is, and you're saying I'm saying that. That's putting words in my mouth and misrepresenting my position. I don't appreciate that. So when you need to make, and then we go and we show you this 45:7 where he says, I make peace and create evil. I don't know, that means he's not omnibenevolent. So how do you, what translation could you put to to God not being evil when he admits that he creates it?
Yeah, there's a couple versions that say he creates evil, and then most of them say he creates, calamity. And, calamity is what kind of You know, when you're in a
Okay,
crisis,
calamity. We'll go with that one.
kind of thing.
How is creating
God's allowed to do
calamity
that kind of
in
thing.
line with being omnibenevolent?
I don't know. I can create calamity too. So I guess a lot of people can do it. I don't know what you're asking.
Are you omnibenevolent?
So do you know what the word, so do you believe that your God is omnibenevolent, all good?
Yeah, I would say yes, he is all good. Yeah.
Is creating calamity a good thing or a bad thing?
God can't do anything that's even a little bit irritating.
So is creating a calamity a good thing or a bad thing?
Bring out the best in somebody. Yeah.
But doesn't creating a calamity automatically mean that bad things are happening to people? But isn't creating a calamity meaning that bad things are happening to people?
Not necessarily.
But doesn't it mean that if you create a calamity, bad things are happening to people?
Now, uncomfortable things. I think bad is a poor choice of words.
Okay. What choice of words would you like?
Uncomfortable. Like
okay, so calamity, the common usage of the word is an event causing great and often sudden damage or distress. So how does creating damage or distress a good thing if you're creating them to people?
That's what happens on a football field. You create damage and distress to the other team and you find out who's better. It's how you measure character is when
I don't think that's a fair response, Mike. Hang on.
Yeah,
Mike,
I would say it's not fair either because it's an event.
Right. As opposed to the literal like fabric of space-time being created by a being. Also, this is the route you're going down, by the way. Okay. I want to help flag this for you so you don't fall into this trap in a few seconds. Okay. But if you go down this route, what you're saying is that when you watch a child get murdered in front of you, you have to accept that is a good thing. Because it means that it is part of God's ultimate destiny and plan to bring out the best in humanity and all of that. And if what you're saying is that your God has to cause deep amounts of suffering and pain and shit constantly, that's a really shitty God and it's not omnibenevolent. So I'm just trying to help you out before you fall into that pit hole 5 seconds from now. So.
Okay. Well, that pit hole, the big precursor is has to. God doesn't have to do it. We're actually.
Yes, he does. If it happens, yes, he does. If he sanctions it, yes, he does.
All the crap that goes on.
Nope. It has to happen because God sanctioned it.
No.
Yeah, and just to use your analogy, just because we use, and I don't agree with any of this, but just we'll go with your analogy. Just because we use football to increase character and that playing football creates some sort of damage and distress on the human body, that's because we're limited beings. Your God is also omnipotent, is he not?
He is aware of everything. That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so he has an option other than football to test people's character, does he not?
He's got your whole lifetime.
So the answer is yes. So this is the problem you have with the omnibenevolent, yes, omniscient, omnipotent God, is that you cannot square those three things with the way the world is today. You can't. You cannot have an omnibenevolent God because bad things happen to people. However you want to define bad, and I will leave that up to you. If you think bad things exist in the world, then that does not square with an omnibenevolent God who knows about it because he's omniscient and has the power to change it because he's omnipotent. You can't square those things. Your God cannot logically exist.
Okay. I disagree, and I'll tell you why. In heaven, none of this crap is going to go on, but here is where you're deciding if you want to be with God or not be with God. And our free will is what brings a lot of the crap into the world, and God doesn't have to do much of anything that people do it.
So your God is
Part of
only
other
limited
people
to
going on.
doing things that affect free
But-
will, so he's not omnipotent.
And he's not omnibenevolent because he could have made heaven here, but chose not
To
to.
pull back and let us use free will.
So again, you are saying that your God is not omnipotent because the only option he has is to affect human beings' free will.
He is omnipotent. It's like an adult letting a child stand up and fall down, even though you could save that kid every time.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Do their
No, it
thing.
isn't. I don't have
Because
the
we're
ability.
not omnipotent.
Yeah, I don't have the ability to do anything else. I don't have the ability to do anything else. I am a fallible mortal being. Also, if your God makes heaven and all of these problems don't exist there, then what you're saying is your God is not omnibenevolent. And what you're agreeing to is what I said just a second ago, the trap you fell right into, which is children being murdered in front of you. You have to celebrate that now by this line of logic, because it is the only way that God could give us an opportunity to choose to be with him with our free will under your understanding and then get into heaven. It makes your God look like a real schmuck, dude. And I don't think that's the God you believe in.
No, you're mischaracterizing it. You don't have to celebrate
I don't think so.
pain because we're not in heaven.
Yes, you do.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what
you do in your understanding. You have to celebrate the pain and the suffering. You do in your understanding, because without the pain and suffering, as small or as great, you never get to the good things. Only in your view is that the case. If you slightly adjust your view, you don't have to deal with that. Most believers in God, most believers in the Christian God do not have to worry about this. But from the statements you have made today, Mike, you do. You have to celebrate the suffering. And I don't think you agree with that.
I don't agree with the suffering, but well, I mean, you're very mischaracterizing it. You don't
go back and watch.
Well, no,
I laid it out for you and you stepped right into it.
They hardly suffer at all.
You're arguing for a God that is omnipotent because you say he can't do anything that will affect free will. And so you're limiting him to things that only affect free will, which is really, really bad and not good argument.
Jim,
and then you're saying that in heaven, none of this happens, except that the only way that could happen in heaven, according to you, is that God removes free will. Well, that doesn't make any sense because Satan made a choice to rebel against God. So free will exists in heaven. So no matter how you argue this, you get hung up on these three traits that you're trying to reconcile that cannot be reconciled. And you're arguing for a God that is less than the omni-God.
May I explain?
Go for it.
May I answer your question?
Go for it.
In heaven, it looks like there isn't going to be free will. Everybody's just going to do the right thing because we made our choice now. And I've made my choice.
So how did Satan rebel against God?
Something away from God's will.
How did Satan rebel against God if we have free will and everyone's going to make a choice to stay with God? Because that doesn't square now all of a sudden.
Okay, this is you maybe know this, maybe don't, but Satan and these angels and all this, they are different people. We actually have a part of God. We're like family, whereas the other ones are like magnificent created creatures. And then they made a choice. They don't get redeemed. We do. I don't quite understand that, but we are different from them. That we're actually like part of God in heaven, whereas they're creatures. They're magnificent. They're amazing. But
don't really feel like that helps.
God's family. We are.
It's just a claim, but even if it were true, I don't feel like it. Yeah.
Well, we're
doesn't help.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say.
I get that you're saying that,
that's a
but
really
that's
good
just
question.
basically special pleading is what you're getting to. Like, so it
Tricky one.
doesn't matter. It's still a logical fallacy. It still doesn't address all of the numerous problems, again, that I explicitly tried to warn you about and said, hey, man, this is a problem. You then just brought up the possibility. So you said two things back to back, and I just want to point them out to you because they are, in fact, contradictory. The first thing that you said was, it seems like there is no free will in heaven. Well, if that's the case, that's a bigger problem for you. But then the next thing that you said, Mike, was we just all choose to do the right thing. So what you're saying is that there is actually free will, contradicting the first thing you said at the beginning of the statement. But then if there is free will and we just all choose to do the right thing, then your God's not omnibenevolent because he could have made a world like that from the beginning. And once again, the only way to accept the bad things in this universe, in your view that you've committed to, is to celebrate the bad things, because without them, we couldn't be better. That's the view you have expressed on this call multiple times. So, just saying.
Can I answer that as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mike. Please.
We're waiting for you to do.
100%. Yes.
All right. By the way, these are the good questions.
Yeah, this is deep shit. I'm not.
This is really good. I'm not saying I have all the answers.
Me either.
Yeah, no, I've thought about this stuff a lot. What you're just saying is like, why didn't he just do it from the beginning? And the reason is that he didn't want robots who just automatically chose free will. He made it so that we'd have a time period where we get to choose: do we want to be with God or not be with God?
Let me ask you this question.
And then
how do you reconcile us having free will in heaven and not having free will here? And heaven, we're going to be making the right choices. What is the difference between making right choices now versus heaven? Why do we need pain and suffering and all the negative stuff happening now and not in heaven to make good choices?
Well, we don't need pain to make good choices. We got off on a topic on that, but in heaven, yeah, it's like you're not going to have free will. You're just gonna want to do the right thing. But when you're choosing, we have free will now. Do you want to do the good things? Do you want to do God's will, or you want to do your will? That's what it really is. Who do you want to be in charge, you or God? And if you choose God, then he will seal you so that you don't sin anymore. And if not, then he's going to put you in a place where he doesn't have to see you anymore. And it's not going to be, apparently it's not fun. People say it's a party. Other people say not. I would say not, for hell. But it's where God doesn't have to deal with you anymore. And you don't have to deal with him. I mean, there's a lot of people that hate God.
So why can't he do that now? Why can't he just go, everybody make a choice? You can go with me or you go that, you take the door on the left and door on the right. Why can't he just do that now?
Well, I think he is. We're living our lifetimes and we're deciding. We're doing it right now.
Okay, so but you now you run back into the exact same question I asked earlier.
Yeah.
Why is he doing it now and we don't have to do it when we're in heaven? And saying that we've already made the choice doesn't get you anywhere, because we could unchoose the choice in heaven just as easily as we do now. The free will still exists, right? Except in heaven, we don't have any pain to teach us. And apparently, according to you, because God creating calamity is a good thing, that's how he teaches.
Can be. Yeah, it's not always a good thing. I mean, gee, you don't need bad things all the time. You get good things. You're like, oh, I'm going to do more of that. That makes sense. You don't need calamity all the time, but he gets your attention with calamity. But then we cause calamity to each other too, and it's just meaningless too. Some pain is like, oh, that was worthless. Somebody shoots somebody. That was stupid.
Again, we are not omnipotent, omnibenevolent, omniscient beings. So anything we do is just what we expect, because we're not any of those three things. So the question isn't whether we do it. The question is why does one, God allow it, or two, as we've seen in the Bible from the Isaiah passage, he does it and he created it.
He doesn't create all calamities. Is that what you're saying? He creates some. He'll do it.
Well, that's what Isaiah says.
Yeah. God's allowed to get your attention sometimes. Sometimes you need to be at the bottom before you start thinking, oh, when life's great, I don't self-analyze very much.
Sure. Can I just ask a direct question, Mike? Because I just want to say this first off. I think you and I have spoken before. I think all three of us have had conversation before, and I gotta say I've really enjoyed the conversation at parts. And I think you are thinking about stuff. You are actively interested in digging into all the different interpretations and all the different history. I love the philosophy, love it all, man. But truly, I want to ask. Was anything in this conversation what actually led you to believe in the first place? Like, is any of this stuff that you went through before believing in God?
What made me, if you're talking about like calamity, I didn't really have a calamity. I was getting ready to graduate from college, and I spent my whole life. I got to focus. I got to study. I got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was there, and I was like, now what? I'm just going to get a job and then retire. And I was
right.
Like,
so what I'm asking real quick to clarify, Mike, what I'm getting at is, did you have a period of time in your life where, without believing in a God, without accepting the Bible is true, not thinking that Jesus rose, all that shit, and sat down and went, man, you know what? Let me think about this for a second. We got to have free will here, because otherwise, like, how are we ever going to get better? And the fact that there's free will in heaven doesn't matter, because maybe there's not free will and God is omnibenevolent and all the... Did you do any of that? Was any of this part of the process of you actually coming to this belief? Yeah. What was that thing, man? What was that thing that made you start believing?
Yeah, we're in. I just felt like life is meaningless. Like, even if you do everything right, it just wasn't satisfying. I was
sure. Fine. I get that feeling, man. I've had that feeling. Other people have had that feeling. As human beings, apparently, at least from the period of time that we've been recording shit, apparently, we've all kind of had that feeling at least once or twice. Is having that feeling alone a good reason to accept that a God exists?
I don't think so.
Yeah, me either.
Me either. You're lonely, or you think life is empty, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. What got me was Jim's not going to like this, but when I started looking at the design of like the human body and respiratory system and everything, like all your arteries are actually tubes, and if they were just off and the tube was closed, you'd be dead. And I was like, come on, man, this is, I was an engineer. So this is all design. Somebody had to design this. You knew what they were doing.
Is it the complexity?
I was angry because I didn't want to believe in a God. I was like, this is crap. I don't believe in it.
Yeah. Is it the complexity of the design that you're saying because of how intricate it is? Like, it has to be designed?
Well, it's the engineering.
No, hang on. That's a totally different. Hang on, Mike, listen to exactly what I'm saying. I know we're having a little bit of a delay and it's kind of hard, so I'm just going to keep rambling for a second. I think we're probably caught up now. So here's what I'm asking very explicitly. Is it because of the complex nature of the things you're looking at? You mentioned the human body. Is it the complexity that you see that makes you say it's designed? Because I have a follow-up. So just a real quick yes or no would be great.
Yeah, I mean, things could be complex, but like how you can breathe automatically, and then you can take a breath, and then...
Well, you can't breathe automatically because there's fluid in your lungs. So hang on, Mike. I'm going to mute you. I'm so sorry. I have tried desperately not to do that this whole time, but I don't want to have to wait, because here's my follow-up, because I'm going to run through this again real quick. It seems to me like what you're saying is, yeah, kind of the intricate and complex nature of the things that I'm looking at, like, for example, the human body, trees, snowflakes, all that shit. The complexity makes me get to the conclusion it must be designed. So here's my question. Look at this. This is a hair tie that I use. Pretty fucking simple. Is that designed? Are simple things designed? I'm going to unmute you. Are simple things designed?
Yeah. It depends on what it is. Like a snowflake is really complex, but it's not designed. So you can go both ways on that.
Well, okay. Now see,
that's
so
kind of
hold
my
up there.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
That's kind of my question: is a Rube Goldberg design a good design or bad design? If it's a Rube Goldberg machine,
Well, Rube Goldberg, if it works, I guess it's a good design, but they always look so crappy. So that's a funny example.
right? Because what's going on with them that makes them look like that?
It's the mousetrap.
They're overly complex, right? They're entirely too complex.
Needlessly.
Right?
Okay.
So complexity is not necessarily a sign of design or even good design. What is, I mean, but there is one thing that is almost always
I agree.
the sign of good engineering or good design. And that is it as simple as it possibly can and no simpler? And I don't think there's a single part of the human body where you can go, that's the case. You just look at the human eyeball. We have much simpler, better designs than the human eyeball. We've made them. So why has the human eyeball got this aqueous solution? It has low resolution. It has a tendency to see things that aren't really there. Why is it such an overly complex design compared to what we've made?
You understand there's like millions, or is it billions of nerve endings on the back of the eye? And they're all lined up and they all receive it and they don't cross each other.
And it's still bad engineering.
I don't know what your point is.
It's still crappy.
It's still bad engineering.
Yeah, literally both of us have shitty vision. He's wearing glasses, I'm wearing contacts. Like, we both have bad eyes.
Because the way the eye focuses is overly complex.
Yes.
The way the eye does everything is overly complex, right? All the chemical reactions. What's simpler, a camera or the camera on my iPhone, or the human eyeball? What's simpler?
I would say that your camera can't repair itself, so the human eyeball is more complex.
The human eyeball repairs itself? Really? It repairs itself?
Not super well, right?
I'm wearing glasses, dude.
My
Tell me something funny.
Look, I think, look.
Does the retina detach? Yes, it does. Does it ever heal itself? In some cases, yes.
But you can get cataracts.
But that doesn't answer the question. What is simpler, the human eyeball or the camera on my iPhone?
The camera on your iPhone can't repair itself, so it can't do the same things as the human eyeball.
That's not an answer to the question.
Yeah, but
I'm asking what's simpler. I'm not asking about self-repair capabilities. I'm asking about what is simpler.
As far as less molecules, because they don't do the same thing.
Hang on.
Sure they do. They both receive light and interpret it.
Yeah. Let's look. We've been going at this for almost 40 minutes, Mike. Let's put this on pause and we'll pick it up another time when you call back in. Because again, I think this has been a largely good call, and I think there's a lot more stuff but we've already been going for about 40 minutes. I don't want us to get to a place where, we're just kind of rambling about silliness here. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff to go back. I will tell you this, man. I do this, okay? Especially in calls where I get off of them and I'm like, man, they weren't fucking listening to me, Like, I'll go back and I'll rewatch it and I'll listen to everything that everybody says and try to go, oh, okay, wait, I did say that thing wrong, Because I do. I say stuff wrong all the time. I think I said something wrong in the last call. I just mixed up a word or two, Most people probably knew what the fuck I was talking about, but technically I said something wrong. So, anywho, I suggest take a second, give it a couple of days, go back, watch it, give us a call next time you see us on, because, I think this is a pretty good call. I think you're a pretty good interlocutor, Mike.